Hey, you wonderful weirdos. Welcome back to another comic book in review where we take new comic book day comic books. We kind of break them out in a good or bad list. Remember, these are superficial reviews for just the issues themselves, not necessarily the whole story. That's going to be important this week. So let's go ahead and kick this off with the good list. So let's kick off the list with DC horror. So first off, almost didn't make it on the good list. Something kind of made me angry about this. Technically, this is an anthology. It's issue 1 of about 4 or 5. But you only get 2 stories in here. And I was like, you can't even really call that an anthology of stories. But I did like what they did in here. So that's the only reason why it's on the good list. Basically, I love it when they bring out these kind of creepier characters from or heroes that have the more creepier characters involved with them, I should say. So in this one, Batman's villain is it's Dollmaker, but it's also his psychotic daughter, and it is great. If you don't know who Dollmaker is, I highly suggest picking up his first appearance and definitely checking out that storyline. Basically what he does is he's like a cosmetic surgeon who reanimates human beings, but his kind of quest for perfection makes everything look horrifying. He finds perfection in horror, right? And it's so weird because the daughter kills a guy because apparently he wanted to break up with her. She wasn't hearing this mess and took him to daddy to reanimate him, fix him up, and then just to kill him again with a hammer. Yeah, DC's getting dark these days on their mainstream titles. Like, this isn't a Vertigo issue. This is his mainstream title. The other story in it, you could say it was kind of generic, but I still really enjoy it because I love a good zombie story. And this one, Cersei, an enemy of Wonder Woman, reanimates, a lot of reanimation, reanimates Wonder Woman's mother as a zombie to kind of screw with the people of Themyscira. It was kind of heart-touching, sad, and it had some really good horror artwork in with it. So I really enjoyed that. So both of those on the go list. Moving on, the one everybody's probably waiting for, right? Wonder Woman. Absolute Wonder Woman. Part of the Absolute Universe, and I'm absolutely on board with this. I should preface this with, I'm not like what you would call your typical Wonder Woman fan. I like some of the Golden Age stuff just because they're older comic books. I can't sit there and honestly regurgitate a storyline from Wonder Woman for you until now. It's also why this made Pick of the Week. Yeah, I'm digging this. Look, this Absolute stuff, you can make the argument that, it's just another Elseworld or another universe story. Fine, point taken, but the great thing about this is it's a newer, fresher take on them, especially Wonder Woman in here. So in this case, I don't want to give too much away, but I do want to entice you to go get this. So check this out. Imagine Wonder Woman being raised in hell, mythology hell, right? Cersei's her mother. Name keeps popping up this week, but kind of a surrogate mother, really, because Zeus destroyed all the Amazons. And even banned the word Amazon, which was weird. But she was still, because of who Wonder Woman is, was still able to grow up in this kind of, she's always been kind of the example of hope in comic books, right? When you talk about the trifecta of superheroes, she's kind of the heart, the hope, that kind of stuff. And she's still able to maintain a lot of that growing up. But this thing gets a lot darker because Pegasus, who she rides in this, is this skeleton of Pegasus. Skeleton horse with wings flying around. The sword concept. Even though, sometimes in anime, the goofy, oversized sword thing, right, can be kind of weird. I don't know why. It just fits in this. The artwork's amazing. It grabs your attention and it demands you to look at it. And I just thought that was excellent. Instead of the golden lasso, it's red. And there's a little bit more of a commanding presence from her in this story as well, unlike what I think we've seen before. Again, not the hugest fan out there, so definitely want to hear your thoughts on Absolute Wonder Woman, especially if you're a Wonder Woman fan out there. Did this kind of miss for you? I mean, am I reading a Wonder Woman story, or am I just reading somebody that looks like Wonder Woman and just calling it Wonder Woman because the title says so? I don't know. Need your help there. But yeah, still a pick of the week. One more time. Okay, moving on. Detective Comics. This is number 1090, I believe. Let's take a double check here. Okay, 1090. What's going on here? So you're getting a new arc on a story here. I don't think it's going to be a very long one. But this is interesting because we're going back to when we're dealing with modern time, but a lot of flashback memories, right? And we're dealing with that. And I know this can be a little bit of an annoyance to some people out there, but it's kind of Batman's origin story before his parents died. More particularly when Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father, Batman's father, was taking care of a particular patient, and his sense of duty to take care of this patient. I thought this was very interesting. So a guy gets into a car crash. He's obviously been beaten up. His wife, who is pregnant with a child. So then, the discussion has to happen at the hospital, right? This kind of awkward situation where it's, do we jump into surgery right now to save the guy, or do we kind of, since he's a bad guy, obviously, do we kind of just take care of the mother and the child that were in the car crash? Plus, they've been beaten, right? Thomas Wayne says priorities are priorities. Which one's in the worst condition? Of course, it's the guy who's beating on his wife. So because of duty, right, and his sense of duty, regardless of what the other person is, he goes and takes care of that first, right? That's the whole thing with being a doctor, right? And the other things that happened to the woman, other doctors and nurses could have handled that, right? So it wasn't that big of a deal. But it was kind of conveyed to him that, maybe if we just kind of do the bad thing before a good reason. And that's something I don't subscribe to. So I'm really happy to see Thomas Wayne not subscribe to it either. So he went and took care of it. Here's where things get interesting. Upon release, the lady obviously wants to go hide. The Waynes kind of helped hide her and the child away from this particular individual. When the guy wakes up, we find out who it is, and it's Joe Chill. That should kind of ring a bell. That's the guy that ended up killing Martha and Thomas Wayne, eventually creating Batman, right? So, right, I love those kind of, because, right, you can sit there and say, well, if he didn't save the guy, he could have lived, but then we probably wouldn't have Batman, right? I mean, if you jump to those conclusions, did he kill him because he hit his wife and all that other stuff? I'm really deep into it. I never thought about Joe Chill's motives. Now, it's always been said in comic books before, he was just a down on his luck drunk. There was even a run of Batman where he forgave Joe Chill. But I don't know. I love it when the comic book kind of really brings up these moral things because they create discussion with people, and I think that's important to have. I don't know. Would you have saved Joe Chill? I don't know. Morally, I'm flexible. Ethically, I don't think I really am. Interesting. All right, moving on. Let's jump into Marvel Iron Man. Boom. Now, it has been a while since I have gotten excited about an Iron Man book. Just some of the writers that have taken them on over the last COVID to now time frame have just really just not made him a very interesting character to me. It's always a guy who's mostly just battling his own demons and path to redemption because he's got an eccentric characteristic to him and maybe an alcoholic. In this one, I think that we're kind of dialing that back a little bit, where we're trying to he's not so much in recovery all the time trying to do the right thing. He's being a superhero, or at least in this issue. I enjoyed it for that. They brought back some great classic art, and this is just kind of a taste of what I hope that they're doing. Just not a first issue where we're jumping off into the first hardcore storyline, but more along the lines of hey, reader, I think you'll kind of like this, get you hooked a little bit, and then we'll give you a storyline. I really hope that's what they're doing here. Plus, it's just a cool cover. Again, I'm not the biggest Scotty Young fan in this house, even though we buy them all the time. My wife collects these covers, but even I gotta say that's pretty cool. I think we all know why I like that one, given my other channel. All right, next, This is Headless Horseman. So this was kind of fun. Another anthology. It's at a $7.99 price point. But you get 5 stories in here. Well-crafted stories. Short, to the point, but enough where the artwork and the story itself tell, a pretty decent story to you. I really like this. If you want to know more about how jack-o'-lanterns were made, right? They got a story in there for that. Awkward girl turns into a lake monster. They got that story. And a few other stories in here that are just fun. And that's what makes this on the good list. Definitely. I enjoyed it. Would I recommend it to other people? If you're just looking for some Halloween fun out there and you just kind of just want to pass the time, or maybe if you got some, I would say most of the stories in here are pretty safe for kids too. So that would be something, along those lines. Any other day reading? Probably. I'm just getting in the spirit of Halloween, so probably not. Frankenstein. Oh, yeah, this is issue 3. Yeah, this one kind of let me down a little bit. And mostly because I really don't care a whole lot about the romance part of the Frankenstein story lore. I just don't. Like, I just want to see the monster do things and people do things to the monster and then have some cool twist ending. I don't care about Dr. Frankenstein trying to get time to spend with Elizabeth, but he's so dedicated to his work in making this monster and then having to come to the conclusion to kill the monster because it's bad, but it was all really just a thing that he didn't understand or see or maybe even perceive. Much like the science that he was kind of goofing around with. That was actually a pretty good point, but still in the bad list. We also find out about Paul in this, and Paul is the little boy who's been kind of behind the scenes watching all of this stuff. Frankenstein's hands are literally his dad's hands. And he hears that, they're going to have to put this monster down. He doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to go back to the orphanage. And it just turns into more of a just drama-soaked episode of a soap opera than it did feel like a horror book at this point. Yeah, a couple of things here and there, but not really enough to justify to get it off of my own personal bad list. Werewolf by Night. Now, I've been enjoying this, and I liked it, but the whole thing with Moon Knight was just a quick spoof. He's already gone in the first few pages, didn't really do much in this issue, and he only had a couple of panels of action in the last issue. So I think it was just something just to get people kind of into the book. Oh, Moon Knight's in it. I'm a Moon Knight fan. Based up a couple of sales. I think that's the only reason why they did it. Because he played no significant part. And then the complete change of the storyline for weird reasons. So our boy, Werewolf by Night, or Jack, has decided that he needs to banish himself off into the wild. So where does he go? To the Savage Lands. He's a werewolf. That's savage. Why not to the Savage Lands? There's dinosaurs there. So Elsa's like, well, yeah, I'll tag along for a little bit and make sure, a dinosaur doesn't eat you on your first day. And I was like, oh, that's just cringy. It's like, whatever. And we got to do the superhero thing now, right? Because Werewolf by Night is technically a superhero. So is Kazar. If you don't know who Kazar is, it's an overcomplicated Tarzan in a savage land, right? So they got to battle it up a little bit. And then there's a trial. And then there's another battle. So they did the trope twice. Yeah, I didn't like that. And then, of course, Jack is imprisoned because apparently it wasn't a battle to the death. I don't know. It was this weird. It would have been cooler if it was to the death. And, something happened and they had to join forces to fight it, right? Because that's how the trope usually goes. But they didn't bother with that. They just stuck him in a cage in a hole. And, yeah. Oh, and the guys that are recreating the dark hole, they're trying to stab each other in the back because that's what villains do. Yeah, and kill the boss. That's about it, really. So, yeah, this one just did not, it was nothing. I just felt like I was reading it. So, I don't know. So that's my comic book haul and review. I hope you read some of this stuff and enjoyed it. And as always, what am I missing? What did I not pick up this week? Like my comic book shop, just if they don't get enough sales on a comic book, they're not picking up an issue 2, 3, or 4. Like he will drop it in a heartbeat. So if there's anything interesting out there that I'm missing, that I have to go to another comic book shop farther away, I'm willing to do it. Just let me know down below. And other than that, I got nothing else, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.